I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. All right, what's up, world? Welcome to this special Patreon edition, at least Patreon first edition of I Mix What I Like right here, BPM. I'm Jared Ball, very happy to be your host. Got this story that just came out a little while ago, this report at least, and it is, to me, another shocking reminder of the antithesis of soda, the efforts working in an antithetical way to the kinds of solidarity of dispersed Africans and Pan-Africanism that I know we like to talk a lot about around here. So let's just get into it. Not going to take too much time with this. It's just but it is something that is shocking, and it is an internationalization of my critique around the mythology of Black buying power. It is something definitely worthy of future editions of the book, or or other forms of continued monitoring. So, as it says here in the Africa Report, Diaspora Initiative looks to tap into $1.7 trillion African American purse. The language, it's so even the language and the approach to me is offensive in the sense that it is reducing. First of all, it's incorrect. It suggests again that there is this pot, this existing $1.7 trillion that is just ignorantly being misused, not used at all, or being wasted by an ignorant, financially illiterate Black America, or is reducing Pan-Africanism to some sort of business exchange, one where, again, radical Pan-Africanism under the definition of scientific socialism, United States of Africa, the forms of however people want to define the various forms from Garvey to Du Bois, with all due respect to the African nationalist argument around Garvey. The point being, all of those forms are meant to be obliterated by this. And all of the ongoing effort by those associated with this platform and beyond, I think, are also being threatened by this as well. So pictured here is Olivier Kamanzi, Kendrell Felder, and Larry Yon over here to the farthest to the right, who will be the one often quoted. That is Larry Yon. Again here on the right behind me here. And what I thought was very interesting is that as it starts off, Southern Africa is the target market for the first in a series of African diaspora and Friends of Africa investment summits. And if you notice, again, target market, that kind of language is, I think, important to note. Similarly, as I've been talking more about, particularly in the second edition of my book, the McKinsey Institute is the source, uncited in terms of a link to a particular report, but this is something, as I've been saying, McKinsey is getting more involved in. And internationally, African-American buying power could reach $1.7 trillion by 2030, projects McKinsey Institute for Black Economic Mobility. That's the Black Economic Mobility is the newer offshoot, or the newer extension of McKinsey's work. With the African Union and Joe Biden administration both promoting the diaspora as a key potential source of funding for the continent, a coalition of Black business leaders is coming together to help turn things around. So again, the solutions are not in nationalism, Pan-Africanism, socialism. They are in the Black business community's leaders. On October 17th, they announced the first in what they envision as a series of African diaspora and Friends of Africa investment summits over the coming years. This is a venture of a 16-member Southern African Development Community, which scheduled with this. I'm sorry, this was a precursor to a summit scheduled on the 16-member Southern African Development Community, scheduled to take place from March 6th to March 8th in Washington. This is the opportunity for us to take diaspora wealth and redirect it to include the continent, said Larry Yon, co-organizer of the event. That wasn't really very clear. For some reason, a few dozen investors and U.S. government's officials. Okay, so they gathered in October, and this was a 3-day summit, or this half-day event was a precursor to a 3-day summit focused on the 16-member SADC, or Southern Africa Development Community, which is scheduled. Okay, I think there's just a couple tight. Okay, but again, this is the opportunity for us to take diaspora wealth and redirect it to include the continent, said Larry Yon. So the idea is that all this wealth exists in the diaspora, but again, buying power is not wealth. So already there are all these mistaken, fraudulent, mythological conflations occurring. That there is this $1.7 trillion pool of resource, this purse that could be made available. And then B, if I haven't already missed B, but another one would be this most recent one here. That $1.7 trillion projection in buying power equates to wealth that can be redirected to include the continent. That's not what it is. Buying power is not wealth. Continuing, Yon says there's a lot of opportunity here. There's a lot of money that ends up being one of the biggest problems. The diaspora not knowing what the investment opportunities are, and the asset managers not knowing that there's an investment community that actually exists that's interested in the Africa story. In 2012, the AU adopted the diaspora as the 6th region of Africa and described it as consisting of people of African origin living outside the continent, irrespective of their citizenship and nationality, and who are willing to contribute to the development of the continent and the building of the African Union. And again, to the extent that could have ever been pushed to some more radical conclusion, it's being reduced here, as is all diaspora efforts, to something along the lines of some sort of black capitalist venture. Every nation has an action plan for Africa except the diaspora, Yon told the audience. Let that sink in for a moment, and we ask each of you that are here today to work with us to create that action plan. And then they're up there with Felder and Kamanzi of the African Global Commerce, the Africa Global Chamber of Commerce, which is a U.S. nonprofit. And the same thing. For South Africa, working with the U.S. diaspora could boost Black-owned businesses in both countries. Because after all, Africa remains one of the fastest growing continents in terms of economy numbers, and where you're going to see the largest consumer market. But if there's, again, no political power and no redistribution, strictly being consumers does not mean economic or political power for sure. Africa is calling us, Kamanzi said. Now it's time to answer the call. So there you have it, folks. Another day in the life of the internationalization of Black buying power. Again, as I continue to argue, a direct assault on what Kwame Ture was called out for by the British intelligence agencies and reported on in The Guardian recently. If you try to make Black power be about Pan-Africanism, scientific socialism, you become targeted for omission or worse. But if you redefine that along Black capitalist and Black entrepreneurialism, there's somehow room for you to do business and be included, and certainly to be encouraged. So, just another bit of the puzzle that we're going to have to continue to struggle with here as we remain committed to some sort of Pan-African principles, solidarity of dispersed Africans. All right. Thanks, everybody, especially to the patrons. Thank you very much. Hope you found some value and reward in getting this early access. And as always, to you and everyone else, peace if you're willing to fight for it. Les Fred Hampton used to say. Thank you very much. Catch you next time here at I Mix What I Like. Peace, everybody.